Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against spitting with a little bit of soul, no time.
Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez.
And we are here with our guest, Mr. Bruno Hernandez. Say what's up.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. We're doing a little differently today. If you follow the podcast, we always have one run, which is like the run for the episode, and we'll talk about that kind of run and what happens and have a guest on that's had that happen to them. But we're doing a little differently today. There is a run we can talk about in this episode.
It'll be there. The run will be there.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but we're also tying it back in because this is an episode that'll be more about Venice and end up being about homelessness as well, which is a prevalent problem for any EMS worker and definitely in L.A.
And our guest is he basically is in charge of the Venice art walls. And I don't know I'm sure we've mentioned we're from Venice, me and my brother, but I don't know if you guys realize like how deep our roots are in Venice. Not only did me and Ben, grow up Venice, Mar Vista, the entire west side. But we went to Venice High, graduated from there. So did our parents. So did all our aunts and uncles on both sides of our family.
Our family is there for like 60 years.
Our roots are deep in Venice. My grandparents still in the house right down the street from the fire station that they bought in 1960 for $16,000.
Yeah, right up Lincoln.
Still every day working in Venice, I see friends and family there. And I think Venice, the interesting thing about Venice, I mean, it's a world famous tourist destination, obviously. But when you get there, it's not, there's not a whole lot to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a cool area. I think what's really cool about Venice is all the art and music that's just mixed in with the culture in Venice that you don't see in the surrounding areas either. Not in Santa Monica, not in Culver City, Playa del Rey. It's its own unique little grouping of money, music, art, but also homelessness, drugs, and then just regular ass middle class people that grew up there and still own homes there that have been there for generations.
It's a big weird mix, and it's kind of still known to be authentic, even though it's gone through like a major gentrification. And there's like kind of like a whole like struggle in the aftermath of that. It's been interesting.
I think that's a understatement, and you can jump in whenever you feel like it, man. But I working where I work, where the fire station is. Lincoln Boulevard is kind of like a split between like the beach community, Oakwood, right, which leads into the boardwalk and like Row of Venice, where the art walls and the skate park and all that stuff are. And then the other side of Lincoln Boulevard is a little bit more like middle class, like a normal middle class neighborhood, right? Yeah. But when we were in high school, dude, Oakwood was.
It was.
I'll just say, man, Oakwood was fucked up when I was growing up.
It was a war zone.
In the 90s, it was a war zone. They were always battling. The Shoreline Crips kind of owned Oakwood right there. They were always battling with Culver City, with V13. And
that V13 and Culver City clicked up against them, and there was like a race war thing for like a fucking at least one whole year, but it was for a couple of years.
Yeah, dude, that shit would roll over into school every once in a while, right? But I mean. And then the other side of that is like people like me who like I was never into like gangs or anything. We both were kind of like on the outskirts of that, but we had plenty of friends.
Yeah, we knew everybody.
We knew everybody, and I had friends that were shorelines too that lived in Oakwood. I had a girlfriend that lived right catty corner to Oakwood Park in high school. So I'd be in and out of Oakwood, and I had white El Camino. That was my car. You know what I mean? So you can imagine me, in a wife beater, a tattoo, my first tattoo that I was hiding from my dad still, you know what I mean? Cruising in my Elko to go see, my girlfriend at the time. And then you turn a corner and the whole block would be full of show lines.
Yeah. Yep.
You're gonna be like, reverse, and just scoot out of there, but that's how.
Yeah, you got chased a few times.
That's how Venice was, dude, man. Yeah. Not only that though, but like I remember one time going to pick up Domino's. We were kicking it over at Jose and Carlos's house on Walgrove. Yeah. And our other buddy had the Domino's. It was that girlfriend's older brother. Went to go pick it up, pull up in the El Camino. She runs out this thing of Domino's, hands it to me. I see all these gangsters kind of walking toward the car from Oakwood Park. I take off, make a right on Brooks right there, and crash units. We talked about it before. The LAPD
yeah.
community resource
Yep.
against street hoodlums.
Yeah, Bruno knows all about them.
Every Wednesday night, you know, they'd be out and you'd have to look out for them. But they turn the corner. So if it wasn't the gangsters, you know, in Oakwood, it might be the cops sweating you, you know, pulling you over, tossing your car, leaving all your shit there on the street. You know, that was like regular ass Venice back then.
It was hood, and then there was randomly 2 celebrities that lived there in Oakwood in the middle of the shit the whole time. Dennis Hopper and Bo Bridges.
Yep.
And everybody knew that they lived there, and everybody knew that nobody, you know, everyone was like, oh, he's cool.
They were just there. Yeah.
Nobody fucked with them.
Yeah, man.
And then little by little, it started to change.
Little by little changed.
Yeah.
And now it's all high dollar, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, multi-million-dollar homes right across from Oakwood Park. The same place that I would get shorelines chasing me out. The same place that the crash units tore my car apart because they thought I was buying crack at Oakwood Park. I mean, you used to be able to buy crack at Oakwood Park.
Oh, yeah.
Day or night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like the church right now, that there's the big debate whether it's going to stay or not, that the rich family purchased. It's crazy, you know.
Oh, somebody bought that church?
Yeah,
Little
it turned
Baptist
into a
church.
home.
No shit.
They're just going back and forth forever. So there's a whole movement trying to protect it. But to your point, like the Oakwood Park people, they still say like, hey, somebody's got to defend this. And so
Yeah, it's a trip, man. I think of all the, you know, and I've been working with the fire department 17 years now, and I've been all over the city. In my opinion, Venice is the most changed part of the city in the past 30 years. I mean, from what it was when we were growing up in the 90s to what it is now, the money that's in the area, but also everything's increased, man.
Yeah.
It seems like the homeless problem has increased, or the homeless situation has increased dramatically.
It's the highest increase of anywhere in the city.
And it's visible, man. It's like palpable. You can feel it. There's really nowhere that you can go in Venice without having to deal with some kind of homeless problem. You know, whatever street you're walking down.
Yeah, either people or their stuff.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in Venice, you know, and it's a funky time because not only has all this change happened in the past 30 years, and it's we're still in the middle of it all happening because there's still 4-story houses being built, you know, on different random streets in Oakwood. There's still a lot of new stuff going on, but then you couple that with this whole with the protests and the whole defund the police movement, right? And that kind of lends to what you're involved with. That whole thing, when you first hear about it, especially in my world and in my occupation, the fire department, and we work closely with the police department, when you first hear that term, defund the police, it's like, what the fuck? What these idiots want to defund the police? What? You see the homeless problem, you see the crime problem, you want to defund the police? The fuck you talking about? You hear a lot of that, right? What you're doing kind of lends itself to that, and I think that's what that term really lends itself to. Is it's not really just hey, take money, don't give them money. It's what else? What other way can we look at dealing with these issues, and what else can we fund with some of this money instead of buying this tank or buying these AKs?
And how much of a difference can it make in comparison to more cops or more police equipment?
Yeah, you bring up a great point. Like when the defund the police first came up, like my girl and I just gave a big high five, hug. Like, yeah, that's us. Like we're the inner city grassroots program that the funding should be going to. And to your point, like when you hear defunding the police, when you have 40% of LA City's budget, the $1.125 billion going into LAPD annually, and you're asking for $100 million of that, like, oh no, we can't run the LAPD on $1 billion a year.
And that's the thing too, is like people lose sight of how much money $1 billion is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
man.
a fucking $1,000 million. And people don't say that. Oh no, you can't take any of that out. Oh, you want $100 million? Like that's no, dude.
But I think that is, out of all this craziness that's happening right now, including the pandemic, because I don't think all of this happens the way it happens without this pandemic happening, right? Yeah. It's a combination of everybody being pent up and frustrated with what's going on, and then the boiling over of the real issues of the day. But let's get into your program and what you do, man. Like
we should actually intro him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we kind of just like jumped into talking.
We know your name,
right.
and we know your name, but let's.
Okay. Bruno is, and he can speak to the changes in LA too, because basically he's a graffiti artist, right? And that's how he started out. And I mean, he still is. He's renowned for it, respected for it. But like since the 80s, kept his crew together, kept going, growing, getting bigger and bigger. And now basically it's like a nonprofit foundation that has programs throughout the city to, expand art, do public art projects, and that led to him being the director of the Venice Art Walls. Venice Art Walls is at the Venice Boardwalk, world famous. They filmed countless, music videos, movies, photo shoots. Basically, like whenever you see Venice or pictures of iconic Venice Beach, when you see the graffiti portion, that's Venice Art Walls.
And they're basically just walls.
Yeah.
Walls in the sand that graffiti artists can go and put up pieces on. Yeah. And it adds to the rich, art that you see in the area too. But it also gives an outlet for guys who normally would be doing that shit, in an alley somewhere on somebody's property.
Yeah. Right now, I'll give you a little bit more background on that from where you want to start. But yeah, definitely I give you like a little more understanding of the Venice Art Walls.
Yeah, please.
Not to go bounce back and forth in too many ways, but the Venice Art Walls, when it first came up, it was the Venice Pavilion.
Yeah.
And if you remember what it was like in there, it was, for a while it got really crazy, you would hear all the gang rapes, people getting jumped, all different, like it was like for the homeless, how they live in there. So so when people first started painting it, when it first got built, the original vision of the Venice Pavilion was to be called the West Coast Arts Mecca. It was the Venice Arts Mecca. So it was supposed to be like the place where people from all over the West Coast would come to do music, to do art, and that's why they had a stage performance and everything.
Mm-hmm. So what year was that?
I want to say like in the 80s, like 84,
early
80s.
80s.
Okay.
Yeah. So as it got built, it evolved into different things. Well, fast forward to where it got as bad as it was getting. They decided they were going to tear them down. So
this was like the late 90s?
Like this, yes. No, like probably, 10 years ago. Yeah, no, actually, not like 12, 13 years ago now.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so they decided they're going to tear them down. So the activists and everybody were like, no, this is like a place this is Venice. Again, like this is our identity.
It's part of the heart of Venice.
Yeah. You have to allow a place for people to come paint. Now, mind you that the Venice Art Walls, besides the one place in New York that's been shut down, that was gentrified, turned into condos, it's the only like real legal place that anybody from any skill set, any medium could come and just express themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So it became like the actual like the model of what it could be, where it should be.
Yeah.
Right. And so when they fought to protect it, they were fighting for the Belmont tunnels as well. That was another.
I was going to say there's like almost no graffiti yards left. Like through the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of abandoned public works yards, train yards, shit like that were basically graffiti places, graffiti yards. And then especially with the expansion of the metro, then building metro rail everywhere, they took a lot of those back and closed them off and cleaned them up.
So Bill Rosenthal, his office, and at the time his chief of staff was Mike Bonin. So they kind of adopted this program and they fought for it. Yeah. So along with Stosh from ICU Art, he was the one that pretty much like spearheaded it, came up with like this program, and he decided that it was worth saving. So one of the main things is free, that it's always free to the public. It's always free. It's always, to your point, if it's a guy that's trying to come and learn their craft, or if it's an older guy that wants to come with his family, doesn't want to run from the cops. Ultimately, like, if you're an artist or if you're creative, you're going to create. You're going to paint.
You got to find a space.
So is it going to be in the wash? Is it going to be in the river? Is it going to be, in the alleys, the train yards? Yeah. You're going to paint somewhere. So for us to be able to, let me go back. So Stosh saves it. Everything's going good, but originally the city funded the program, so they were paying him X amount. It was a legitimate program. He was able to pay his employees. Just basically ran it at cost, just labor of love. So fast forward to 2000, and I'll bounce back, but long story short, 2012, they decided that's when the budget crunches came, and that was one of the first things to get cut. So they left owing Stosh a lot of money. And so Stosh basically came out and said, look, you know what? Like, I can't do it anymore. He moved to Oakland, had a baby. He was doing all this different stuff. Yeah. So he was like, the walls are shutting down. So at that time, like literally with Ed,
this is 2013? 12, okay.
Yeah. So me and Edwin, literally that day, we had just like received all our paperwork, our nonprofit 501c3 paperwork. And we're like, okay, great. We're a nonprofit. Like, what do we do next? Like, you open up Facebook and it's like, the Venice Art Walls are closing. Yeah. So we're like, this is
that's
God,
a sign.
Like, this is why we were meant to do this like thing and all that. So we reach out to Stosh. Stosh gets us in contact with Mike Bonin. At that time, Rosenthal was on his way out. He was going through his cancer. And as Mike Bonin was taking over, that's where like the connection came in. Because for him, it is like his legacy program. Right. It's something personal to him to be able to say that that the program exists. It's become the model worldwide. When people create a program, they always reach out to us. They want to know how it works, how it helps, artists,
Sure,
numbers,
yeah.
whatnot. So so as we went through the agreement, we thought that was really cool. Yeah, growing up the LA story, we tell people like we're the classic LA story. You know, came together in '84 as break dancers.
Yeah.
In '85 when we started looking for Animal Chin with everybody else.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we're in that.
Yeah.
Then you know, through '85, '86, we were all on skating. You know, Colors comes out, we're banging. You know, like next thing you know, like we're caught up in the system. We all go through jail. We all in prison, YA, Youth Authority, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when we come home, like in the '90s, it's trying to like find ourselves, figure out who we are, figure out what we're doing. As we're going through this process, I think like our group just kind of went their own way for a while, right? But fast forward to like say 2000, social media, as people started finding each other, like 2006, 2007, we started slowly getting back together.
Start reconnecting.
Yeah. But it wasn't really so much around graffiti, or wasn't around gangs, or wasn't around anything. It was more around like how do we develop like some kind of like bartering group or some type of just a support group for like men of our age, like that are older, that still have passion for love for the arts and understand like the background, but now want to contribute and help each other out.
Sure, because there's not really anything like that.
Yeah. So that was the original goal of STP. It wasn't to come back as this like again graffiti crew or anything like that. So as we grew more and more, we're coaching t-ball, volunteering at retirement homes. We're trying to like find ourselves like how you give back the right way, quote unquote the right way. So in that, we're like, wait a second, like our own backyard's a mess, everything like our own. We still have people that are homeless. We still have people that are caught up in addiction. We have all this stuff. So we kind of focused inward and said like let's figure out where we are first. So as that evolved, of course you put enough artists together again, projects start coming up. So we end up with this like great wall on Pico and Union that to this day is still running perfectly, never been vandalized, and so the theme is save the planet. So we came out with like a completely different, like environmentally conscious like message. The middle Pico Union that back in the 80s, 90s, for a while, like murder capital of
that was
everything.
like the first district or where they like blocked the streets off so you couldn't escape the neighborhood.
That's
first because you couldn't get out from the cops from there.
First place I got my first fake ID. Right off from MacArthur Park right there.
So as our mural right on the corner of Pico and Union, it separates 18 and Burlington, and so going through all that, we started understanding like just different things about like programming, funding. So we're like, why don't we become a nonprofit? And so through that, that's how we ended up kind of at the Venice Art Walls, and how it's continued to evolve. And so STP, while it's still true to its roots and still does art and it still does, graffiti art, whatnot, there's still like a big faction of us that actually like we're just all we want to do is just help and give back. And so from there, it was launched to our newest program, which is it's called Be Creative, and it's a diversion program. It originally started as an art diversion program that we worked with kids and schools and whatnot. Right. But now it's turned into we were contacted by the city attorney's office. The city attorney wants to do what they call like pre-arrest to help kids like first offenders.
How long ago did the city attorney approach you?
Last week, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no shit. Yeah.
So this is hot off the press. It hasn't even been on social media yet.
But that's awesome to me. I mean, it tells me that the city is
they're looking.
They are taking a couple steps back 100%. And looking at everything from through different goggles.
100%. So our program, it's a mentor-based program. It has 3 aspects to it. One is you come in, you speak with a mentor. One of our artists comes in and says, for example, you would be perfect. So you come in and say, okay, I grew up exactly how you started the intro today. You would share that, and then you would say, then one day I decided I was going to get into fire, could be a firefighter. I was going to become a paramedic, whatnot. So you share your story. So our goal is. That's one. And then we have, let's say, a comedian can say, this is what I've done, even though you're in the same field. Then let's say Edwin come in and say, I produce shows for HBO. I'm a writer. I wrote on the bus. That's what I do. I have no formal training.
That's the thing. They still go out and do shit. They still go out in peace.
So you bring in enough different categories and enough different, and I hate, mentor is the word that we use only because you're just sharing a story. So I tell people, like, you don't need to learn my script. I can bring you in tomorrow and just say who you are. And then hopefully, like, the youth or the young adult would say, like, you know what, I can do that. I'd love to do that. Like, what are the steps that I take to do that? And so that's one. The second part of it is community service, classic labor, because, we still believe that some bonding and work is just done through labor. So then you got to get out there. So what we do is we figured out, like, say the walls that have our murals on them, we might go to, like, the the owner that parking lot and say, we want to adopt your parking lot. We want to clean up. We want to come do community service.
Right.
If somebody else does something, we'd like to fix that. And then the third part is more academic, where we might take like a part of a song, a short story, part of a movie, and then we'll write like, what did that mean to you? What was the message? What do you think they were trying to say? What did you take from that?
Sure.
And then as a group, we'll just discuss it and say like, you know what, like that lyric when he said that I felt that, you know.
Yeah.
And so you bring in the arts. That's the arts part of it, the labor part, and the mentor part. Ultimately, that's a career like planning.
Yeah.
Do you
Turn
guys have a
people around.
space for this? Like a
So you bring up the Corona thing. So originally, when we were first set to launch in January.
Yeah.
And so we go to launch. District 11 was the first to support us. Then Nuri Martinez, District 6, and you know, everybody we pitched it to, they've all been on board. Sheila Kuehl's office, you know, the supervisor. So
Yeah.
we haven't had one person to say no, or like, no, we're not. Every single person is like, let's figure out what do you need, how, and so it's been great. So a big part of it with Mike Bonin is, we said we'll start with you, we'll pilot in your district. So we were able to use the city offices there by LAX,
okay.
and also the West LA one. We started to get together a class. We started trying to find our people. Next thing you know, Corona hits.
Yeah.
So we're
Monkey
like,
wrench,
yeah. So
yeah.
we're like, wait a second. So what do we do? What's our next step? So we started to go to Zoom. We started to try to figure out what we can do. But
Right.
a big part of our program before was creating a mural. And because our program, again, has had to evolve because of the Corona,
Yeah.
we just had to change, you know. So we did we had an art show planned. We ended up doing it in our little office, you know, which
Right.
in pictures it looks great. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
look at all this art. But we did it by appointment only. We did a very limited viewing of it. But the artists at least were able to express themselves and
Right.
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
So today, that's one of the big questions is what direction are we going in? Which you know, my girl, she's more into like the human interaction.
Yeah.
Like, let's sit down and let's talk in
Right.
person. While I believe in that. That's the most effective way. But you have to kind of be able to change with the times.
Yeah.
And so this way, I think we will be able to reach more people, but it might not be as personal. But ultimately, like, our goal is still obviously to still meet all our participants, to still be able
for
to
sure.
Yeah.
do that. So to say that it's been easy, absolutely not, you know.
Yeah.
But we've had great support, to your point, and the progressive prosecutors that are looking for other alternatives, and if it's from overcrowded jails, or just a different way that people look at prosecution.
Yeah.
Prosecution, I think
Right.
it's helping us, you know. So
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
where, again, back
You're
to
like the right guy at the right time now. Yeah.
exactly, you
Yeah.
know. So back to what we were saying, like how the Venice Art Walls, it just fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
It's like literally like this was our calling, like, and we're perfectly set up to launch. Like, we couldn't be in a better place right now. And again, like, as far as our people go, obviously, like, being quarantined, like, it's just given people a lot of time just to think and to
Yeah.
reevaluate and to appreciate life and to appreciate like what they have to give back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So a program like ours, not only does it help like the participant, it really does help the mentor as well.
Yeah.
To share that story and to
Yeah.
see success stories. I mean, you can't go
Yeah,
wrong with
For
that.
sure. It's funny too, because that timeline you laid down of the 80s, like that was Venice of the 80s. Pretty much all of LA probably, but yeah, like everybody was fucking breakdancing,
Yeah.
Boom.
skating,
Electric boogaloo.
right? And then it was a trip too, because in Venice there used to be a skate shop right next to where Hoagie's was on Lincoln.
Yeah.
It was called Streets of
Got
Venice.
my first skateboard
Yeah,
there.
Streets of Venice, and they closed Streets of Venice late 80s, and everybody became cholos or taggers,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was a skater, and then
Yeah.
everybody was a cholo and tagger, and then full circle of Venice gentrification, that fucking where Streets of Venice was now, it's like a crystals shop. It's all crystals and shit, bro. Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
a perfect example of Venice right
Exactly,
now. though.
like in a nutshell. So that's the thing too, is like when you grow up in LA, like you wind up falling into graffiti in one way or
Yeah,
another, dude.
absolutely.
At some point, by the time you hit like 6th grade, you've already seen everything, and then you start
Yeah.
noticing shit like, damn, and it's dope. Like it's like some of the best artists in the world are in LA, and like we had a dude from a big crew that lived down the street from us. And a guy hung out with our cousin, same thing. We're like old like USK and
Yeah.
AWR guys,
Yeah.
and so we knew STP
Yeah.
the whole time growing up, and
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
famous and shit. So that's another thing too. Is like now, I mean, I know that you're still doing projects, and they'll do like murals of like 40 people working on it together.
Yeah.
So how does that go now? Like, is all that shut down now?
Actually, that's the no, they're still going on. Like, I'll share some pictures with you. Like right now, we actually have 2 or 3 projects going on right now. We have on Broadway in East LA, like on Broadway in East Lake. So it's like the heart of like, that's another like hotbed where it's like Clover on one side, East Lake on one side, 18 up the street, 70 down the street. We actually, there was this wall that we got, and so when we started to learn the story about we always try to understand the community, so that's a big part of it. Like, not just coming and dropping like our names or whatever we want to do. We try to kind of get the feel for it, and so this mural,
something that's going to have an impact
absolutely
on that area.
Absolutely. So one of these things was the muralist, the bottom was destroyed of this mural, but the top part, it was still going. You know, it was still pretty good. Mural was done in 1943. Wow. Like when you see the picture, there's nothing there. There's dirt field. Like it might have been like the first building in that area. And so we're looking at it and we're like, wow. So come to find out that the guy, you know, he had a lot of challenges. He went to that church right up the street that's still there. Some of the sisters were still there, gave his life to God, and ultimately ended up passing away. He dealt with addiction for a long time. So he had this like real powerful mural, right? So his whole thing is that he just wanted to like, so in the words of the sisters, they were like, he just worked so hard to persevere and get through his things, you know. So we always try to fit in an STP acronym in there. So so we're like, you know what, strength through perseverance. So it's a huge like word. So the funny thing is like most people,
he's not bullshitting though. He can fit in the STP thing. You know, fucking anything you think of, bro. Bro.
So through that, you know, like we dealt with the community, you know, worked with the community, and even the community came and said, you know, I grew up with this mural, so we were like trying to, you know, do that, work with them. We volunteered with the church a few times, and so it was like a really cool thing. So even when we got attacked by some of the people, we're like, no, we're just going over the graffiti, like we're preserving this. So it's crazy, like how things go full circle. 2000, I want to say 18 maybe, we have this new guy, 15, 16-year-old kid, gets into STP. Doesn't know anything, doesn't pay attention. He goes and he defaces the mural of like the guy, like the top part. Like, so he left our part, but he just thought it's just a regular wall, you know? So this weekend, for the last like week and a half, we've been working on restoring the mural. So now one of our guys, like he's had to put a spin on it because obviously like his art doesn't match like the other art. But we left like the dedication part, all the names of the people that originally did it. And so we have our guys going out there, contributing paint, working with the community. And actually, the guy's niece, who's she's older now, obviously, but she went and she said, you know, my uncle did this mural, you know. So she sat there and she was like, I love that you guys are still paying homage to him. I love And so we're like, that was the message, you know.
And you have little projects like that all over the city?
All over.
How long has this been going on? Like this whole thing, the project with the city,
foundation,
the murals.
Well, the foundation, like I mentioned, since 2012.
Okay.
And that's when we took over the Venice Art Walls. We started working with the city.
Now, you're not from LA though, right? You didn't grow up in LA?
Okay, so I'm from the Valley.
Okay.
You know, my family's from the Valley.
Gotcha.
My mom, my cousin, everything grew up in Burbank, North Hollywood area. But I left home when I was 12. And so ran away from home, was, you know, the rebellious kid. So to his point, like, you know, and that was, you know, 84, like 86. So around that time, like we mentioned, that was like the transition where I left my mom's house as a skater. By the time I landed in Southgate, I wanted to gangbang, you know? Actually, graffiti, and I took the bus there, went from a skater, leaving my mom's, jumped on the bus, rode on it, became a tagger, landed in Southgate, and like watched that area. Went to
tag
Jordan,
banger?
tag bang, all that.
That became a thing.
So through all that, and then ended up in jail, you know? So to your point, like, so I would bounce back and forth. I'd get out. I'd go back. So I went to camp 3 times. I went to the youth authority, 91, came home end of 93. So, you know, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't do all that. You know, I went to high school for probably like.
That was your high school.
Like a month, you know? Like a month. And then I got caught up. So I went to,
Had you been an artist your whole life?
No, and that's actually the funny thing. Like, so I don't consider myself an artist. I'm more of like an organizer where I do paint, but I paint like what I feel like painting.
Sure.
Like to say like I'm like these high caliber guys, like absolutely not, you know?
Man,
like,
he's saying he's not an artist though, but watch. Go look on Instagram afterwards. You're like, oh, okay, you're not an artist.
But
dude.
This guy's all right. Well, give him murals all over the city.
Right? Like,
but that's the whole thing. Like,
I'm just the point I'm getting at is, do you feel like art, being creative, like has been something that's been in your heart your whole life since you were a kid?
No,
it's just something you grew into.
I think, and I'm still not actually as driven by the art. I'm more driven by
organizing.
the message and the people. And like I tell her, like going to Mexico to the, we went to the pyramids, and you see that the mural of the jaguar there, right?
Yeah.
And like, so I look at things like that. And I'm like, what was that guy thinking? Like, when did he paint it?
Sure,
and was that his pet?
Yeah.
Was that the guy, the thing they used to chase him around here?
Yeah.
And then
Was
it
that
lived 700 years.
Yeah. Was that the thing he killed? And he was just like, what? Like, what's the story with that? And like, so when you look at like that, like the works of like Diego Rivera, and like people like that, like the guy Diego Rivera, like literally to this day, or maybe I don't know what the Corona is doing right in Mexico, but he literally has like a line of guys that take tourists around to explain his art.
Yeah.
Like, so the guy, and I look at that and I say like, wow, like the kind of impact like that those people have. Like, so for me, like I've always thought like growing up, like going into downtown when you're coming off the freeway and you see that the big mural, those blue like people.
Yeah.
Like I'd wake up from, and I'd say like, wow, we're in downtown, like, so to me, like art there's always been more to it. It's like the message, like what is it telling me, and like, and what are the stories behind it? So again, like graffiti, like I never had a tagger name.
Yeah.
I just wrote my own real name.
Yeah, I know, that's wild.
We got to find out who this guy Bruno is.
Yeah, right? Nah, that's not me.
Get our best
dude.
detectives on it.
Sure, this isn't you, Bruno? Nah, it's the other Bruno.
Looks like me. It's not me. Our names sound the same, but.
But so that was part of it. Like I never saw myself like in that world.
Yeah.
I just was always like again more geared around like the people aspect, and I think that's why maybe I wasn't like such a successful gangbanger. Like I was like, no, like you don't have to gangbang. Like who cares if they're shooting at us? Like
Let's just have barbecue.
There's a better way, homie.
Yeah, there's a better. Yeah, so I think early on, like after YA, after I made my mistakes, I realized like I just didn't want to do that anymore. And even more so, like it's just funny because like you talk about the system, you hit the county and like or the pen and like your best friends are your enemy. It's all about area,
Right. Yeah.
Like so, it's like wait a second, like you shot at me then, I shot at you. Like my boy killed your boy, but now we're supposed to be like sharing spread. Like nah, how does that work? And even in YA where it's like gang banged out, so like there's none of that, no peace talk, no anything.
Right.
It's like gladiator school to the the fullest, especially in those years, the late 80s,
That's
early
wild
90s.
too. You're like 15 in there. Yeah.
And so you're going through all this, and I remember they would send guys that were like they were getting tried as adults, and so they would lose their cases, so they'd come back to the youth authority, or they'd spend their first 7 years in youth authority before after 25 then they went to prison, right? So there'd be guys coming down, and I'd be disrespecting them, like F your hood, we'll do whatever, and all of a sudden they're like, no, like you see these sandals right here, these are your homeboys, like, and I was in the county with them, that's my boy, I got his address and his phone number, like and I'm like, fuck you and your hood and all that,
Yeah.
But then you ask yourself, like, man, like what does all that mean,
Yeah.
Ultimately, like if at the end like you end up there and cool with these dudes, like at some point like the system doesn't
What's the
work.
point?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing too. Is like the farther you go up, the smaller of a box you're living in.
Exactly.
Bro, you know what I'm saying? Like the biggest shot caller is just he sees 1 hour of sunlight a day.
Yeah, I was gonna say you must. I've said that so many.
Yeah.
It's a story I share every class. I always say like I always look at the next step, like the progression, right? Like in this position, what's next? Where am I headed, right?
Yeah.
So in gangbanging, I would say like, wait a second. So like the guy that wins this game is in Colorado underground, like can't see his family, slammed down 23 hours, 15 minutes a day. Like that's the guy that won.
Yeah.
Like he's the man.
Or if he's out in the street, he's just watching his back forever, like waiting to get killed or get busted.
Yeah. I don't want to be the man. Not in that game.
Nope.
I think that going through something like that in your own life, though, makes it a lot easier for someone to listen to you when you're telling your story, because like for me too, I've had issues. We've all had issues in our past. I've had drinking issues, drug issues, but pulled myself up on my bootstraps, got better from it, became a better person. But I feel like that's helped me to be more compassionate to my patients at work, especially, but to people in general. It's very seldom that I judge anybody, or even if I have somebody that's MFing me or being a piece of shit that I can look at and go, you're a piece of shit. I can still think okay, you're not always going to be a piece of shit. You probably haven't always been a piece of shit. You're probably just in your piece of shit mode right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And okay, I'm not going to hold that against you because I've been there. You know what I mean?
Encountering the shittiness
and I
now.
know I haven't been. That wasn't me. I know that wasn't me. And it's funny, like even in the times when I was like talking to, having conversations with my parents, my family in that period of time, the hard fist, you know, like sometimes my dad would try to give me that hard fist. The fuck you thinking? You know, wouldn't I take it back? I expected my dad to be that person. More, it was my mom that was being that. I can't believe you would do this. Think about this and think about that. And my dad was really the one that was like, hey, let's get to, calm, hey.
Well, when
and,
we
and
were
hit it
kids,
with love.
though, it was the other way around. It was my dad was the hammer. He was afraid of us
Yes.
being like you, bro. If he saw khakis, Ben Davis, what is that shit?
Big
Couldn't
time,
get an
dude.
earring.
Big time.
I couldn't shave my head till I was 18, bro. I'm for reals, dude. For reals.
So
He
come-
wasn't having it, dude.
So coming and talk to my parents about something like that, expecting my dad to be the hammer and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and the roles being switched, it was weird because it was like I felt both things. I felt the hammer and it didn't really do anything for me, and then I felt my dad, who was normally the hammer, who I was expecting it from, was giving me the love and giving me the encouragement and stuff like that, and telling me stories about different people that he knew, that had pulled through this type of thing. And that really is what boosted me up.
Yeah.
So even when I have patients, we get all the time. LAPD will call us out for someone that's high on the boardwalk, and they're all methed out or whatever, and they're everywhere, every which way. My whole goal is to just make them feel calm. Hey, calm down, man. Relax. You're cool here. Nobody's gonna hurt you. Relax them, because I know that paranoid. I've known that paranoid feeling in my day.
Yeah.
And so it affects the way that I work with homeless people, with drug addicts and stuff like that. So I think, where it sucks that you've gone through that in your life. Like you talk about the Venice Art Walls being a sign. Like who knows, man? Maybe your whole past and everything that you're going through. Look at how it's helping people now.
Yeah.
In the work that you're doing now.
Yeah.
So then that's the other thing then. So you rescue the Venice Art Walls, you bring it back. So then it leads you to like your next thing, which is Google.
So through the Venice Art Walls, we got contacted by Google.
And it should be said that Google's got
a headquarters.
there's
there in
headquarters
Venice,
right there in Venice.
Yeah, right there in Venice.
The heart of Venice.
And so one of the most challenging streets in all of LA County is 3rd Avenue, 3rd and Rose. They call it Skid Rows.
Yep.
So
We call it Squid Row.
Yeah.
Squid Row.
Squid Row.
So besides obviously the real Skid Row, like there's nothing like 3rd Ave. So
That is not an exaggeration either. Third
It's
Avenue,
It's a humongous encampment.
right behind the world famous Gold's Gym, like the Mecca of bodybuilding. It's right there. Surrounded by $1 million homes, $1 million properties.
Yeah.
There is a street, a block on 3rd Avenue that is Skid Row. It's basically Skid Row.
100%.
And so they reached out to me, and so one of their visions was just, how do you change it? How do you change the culture? How do you change the feel? How do you change the community? How do you fix this, quote unquote fix, right? So they reached out to me, and part of the thing was, do you have any ideas? Like, how do we incorporate art? So again, like the conversation with them, they were really cool, like as far as like they knew why they reached out to me. They became like really respectful. They were open to anything, and they pretty much said like, you let us know like what you need from us, and we'll make it happen, So through that, the first few weeks was really eye-opening for me, because before we shocked them too much and we're like, all of a sudden this is what we're doing, I got in there and just got to know them. So I'd go there every day, every different times, up night, middle, I just stop by and I just hang out there with them. So I got to know everybody on that block, and
You're talking about the people that lived on the street, not the Google
yeah,
heads.
No. All of the homeless people up and down 3rd Ave and Rose, and we'd go and so just try to understand their challenges, and so obviously I didn't go like pen and paper and say like, here, I'm here. I was just like, you know what, like let me just get to know them, let me just hear their stories. And so it's crazy, because sometimes they'd be like, come down, let's eat or something, but like they'd invite me into their tent. I have some videos on Instagram, like I'm inside their tent, and they're just sitting there like, just chopping it up, like telling like different stories, and like a lot of these guys are like, I have a degree, I did this, I was professional, from Boston, from, all over the place, Washington. And so that experience helped me obviously put names, to the encampments, to the tents. But at the same time, like I think like there was a time that it kind of started to jade me a little bit, because you try to help over and over, and you say like, what do you need? Oh, I can't do this because I don't have an ID. And I go, okay, well, let's go get your ID.
Boom.
Like
Yeah.
I'm here, like not with the pro. I'm here to do what you need to do to
Yeah.
get you to the next step. And I would tell them like, look, the kind of like, you don't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
like. So I tell them like, you don't have to if you don't want a home, you don't want to abide by rules, you don't want a job, like, okay, like, but your life isn't going to be here on Third Ave. Like, understand, like, in time, like, right now, and I would tell them, right now, they're being cool. But in a flip of a switch, like, they'll get you out of here. You know, there's a million and one different, like, ways that they can go about getting you off the street.
Yeah.
So right now that we have time, let's figure out what we have to do to get you to the next place.
Yeah.
And if not anything else, like, so through that,
I mean, I think the tough part about doing that, though, and trying to one-on-one help the homeless like that, is realizing how many of the people really enjoy that lifestyle.
Exactly, 100%.
And love being out there, being high.
100%. So through that, and this kind of brings up like this isn't necessarily my personal EMT story.
Yeah.
But so what happens is, so there was two guys that were kind of running the block, right? And there's like, both of them are from Shoreline. One is an older guy that he led by like example kind of, but he was really like quiet, but everybody respected him. Never raised his voice.
Right.
Like, older, probably like, I want to say like mid-60s maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he had a little business going. He was fixing bikes. He was doing car washes. So he was a real cool dude. But that guy was like my ace, because he would tell me like, get me trash bags, get me this, and he would like clean up. He would regulate. He'd make sure nobody, like, you weren't allowed to piss in public anymore. You know, like,
There's a hierarchy
yeah.
in
So
that world,
sure.
man. Yeah,
so
for sure.
he set like the pace on how everything was going on with everything. He was the guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, the hustler guy was his other boy, which I was even closer with that guy.
Yeah.
That guy was selling dope, you know, up and down. He had girls, he had everything, but again, loved the place, you know?
Right.
So through this experience, like, same thing, I would always try to help him out. And we started working on a bridge home, like the first one in Venice. That was going to house like 9 people. I started rebuilding it, painting it. And this stuff that, again, we don't like publicize, because it was just kind of like, let's just do it for the right reason instead of look at me, you know?
Yeah.
So through that, like, while that was going, I kept telling him like, there's gonna be a time where I'm gonna open this home for you guys, and you guys, it's in Venice, it's, you know, right there on Penmar, like, you're right here, like, you're not gonna have to have to go anywhere, like,
Yeah.
because one of their big complaints is that the programs want to send them out to Lancaster, to South Central, to where they're like, we want to stay in Venice. So I would tell them like, yeah, I want to live in Venice for free
exactly,
too, you know?
Yeah.
But
You can blame them.
but I would tell them like, look, I'm gonna make this affordable for you. Like, I'm personally working with these people. Like, I'm physically on my hands and knees, like, fixing your floor, painting your walls. Like, we're physically gonna make this happen. You know?
See, and that's the thing too that a lot of people don't catch, is like, a bunch of homeless people have money. They just don't have enough to have a place, or they, for other reasons, just can't get a place. But they fucking have money. Yeah.
So when all that was going on, again, like this guy Luigi, you know, I shouldn't even say his name, but make sure we edit that. But anyways, so he's on Third Ave, you know, running the block, whatever. And so in that time, he gets caught up with this one homeless guy who has a girl. Like, I guess that girl goes and sleeps with him. So this guy loses it and pulls out this crazy knife and stabs him like 7-8 times, right? So Luigi's like bleeding out,
When was
bleeding
this?
to death. Probably a couple last year sometime, maybe the year before.
He probably went to
I
it.
think
yeah.
I think I ran on that.
If you go on my website, like, you get the picture of the cop and the cop that saved his life, and homeboy under homeless
Sounds familiar.
prevention.
Yeah. I've been on a few stabbings there. So.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
so the cop, like this cop is a white cop, goes and like saves his life. You know, does everything until the paramedics get there. So after that, like, blood all over him, blood all over everything. You know, and so I got a pic. So I was there on Third Ave with Louis when the cop pulls up, and like, it was like really it choked me up. Like, to this day, when I tell a story, it chokes me up a lot. It's like one of those like movie scenes where like they just look at each other and like they just know like that bond, you know, and like bring it in, you know, like they hug, and the dude is like, man, you saved my life, you know. So here's this, you know, allegedly, you know, alleged dope dealing Venice Shoreline dude, in and out of the pen, on Third Ave, homeless, and like that dude did everything to save his life, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, like, that was really powerful. So whenever like people say like that all cops are bastards,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely
I don't
not,
agree
dude.
with any of that, you know.
Absolutely
not. No.
And so through that, I'm like, I've seen that it's not true, you know.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, for
seen
sure.
like many instances of like them doing whatever it's taken, and you don't know if this dude has AIDS, you don't know if he's got what,
Yeah.
like you know. But he sat there and like again, like you know,
Especially in Venice too. It feels like a lot of the guys work Pacific Division there. Have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Have dealt with the homeless.
Yeah.
You know, know the people, know the players
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Other
Know
guys
know
that
what's
grew
up.
there too.
Yeah. One of our
one of our
good friends
friends
from
from high
Venice
school,
High School is a training officer there at Pacific Division. So I think, you know, so I've said in the past, you know, there are bad cops.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are bad firemen. There are bad paramedics. There are
There's
bad
bad
lawyers.
everything, yeah.
You know, they're bad everything, man.
Any profession.
It's human nature to have some bad apples.
absolutely.
But there are definitely a majority of cops that are out there are doing good work, or at least trying to do good work.
Yeah, so through that, just to close out on the experience, like I learned a lot. Like one, like so I went in there saying like, let me help these Venice residents that are just down on their luck. But other than the two that I mentioned, like nobody else was from Venice.
Yep.
Like
Right.
nobody. So
I mean, it's a national problem, man.
Yeah.
And you can go down the boardwalk, go down 3rd, go down Rows right there where that whole new encampment, because they shut off that whole area behind the golf course there,
Yeah.
so they're all lined up on
Yeah.
Rows now. Go down and ask all those people
Yeah.
where they're from. They're all from out of state.
yeah.
Yep.
And the problem is you get let's say you're homeless in Ohio
Yeah.
and you do something illegal, get arrested. They'll go, "Hey, do you want to go to jail, or you can go to L.A. for and we'll give you a one-way ticket." They're
Yep.
giving people one-way plane tickets, one-way bus tickets.
Yeah, I heard that.
LAX has a homeless problem in the terminals. They have 100 homeless people living in LAX in the terminals. And that's people coming in on a one-way ticket
Yeah.
from wherever and
Don't
coming in
leave from the
LA. So,
airport.
Yeah.
you know, everybody talks, or you hear, you know, on national news about, you know, California having a homeless problem, and you know, it's a liberal state. So look
Yeah.
at all these, you know, look at all the drugs and homeless.
Yeah.
Well, it's because we're getting sent the homeless from all over the country.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
so
within LA, they'll get sent to Venice or sent to Skid Row because that's where the homeless
or they
people
just
are.
go there because that's where they hear it. I mean,
And
it
then
works
most
out
resources,
around
yeah.
the country where your what places are friendly to the
Right,
homeless.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
Yeah. And so to your point, Ben, like
Yeah.
right there, the place on Penmar. So we finished the house, everything's good to go, and you know, it's crazy because like politically, with the organizations that were involved,
Yeah.
like everybody celebrated. My partner that brought it, they actually call it the STP house. Like I'll
Yeah.
send you some clippings on it.
Nice.
So it was like we were really proud of it. You know, we're like, okay, let's go open the doors. Like
But what did the community
I
say?
felt so great. No, so it was kind of done like low pro. You know, it was like back
Yeah.
to the point, like private owners. So we weren't asking for city funding. We weren't asking for state. We weren't asking for anything. We just created a home that we were going to work with. I don't know if you're familiar with Share. So they do like, they're a big homeless advocacy group,
Right.
you know. And so we're like, okay, let's get these people housed. You know, again, no red tape, like there, no deposit, no background check, no
Just
credit
boom,
check.
here's a roof
Yeah,
over your
here's
head.
a roof
Yeah.
over your head. So the guy was like, you know, just to pay the mortgage or whatever. Like it ended up being like, I don't know, they wanted like $700 or something from each guy, right? But 4-bedroom house, you know, 3-bathroom, like a rec room in the back, really like a beautiful home,
Yeah,
you know. Like,
that's
and
awesome.
again, like I physically
right,
made sure that this
yeah.
thing,
Blood, sweat, and
kitchen
tears.
all redone, cabinets, like way better than where I live, you know, like
Yeah.
like just great, you know, great spot. And all the guys are like, man, 700, like can I just give you like 2 or 3? I'm like, man, like you're living in Venice right here, like up the
Right.
block.
Yeah.
And I go, and if you're not comfortable there, like I go, and right now that the rooms are empty, like I can pair you guys up where you guys are comfortable with your roommate, you know? I go, but if you're not comfortable, I go, like you could still come down and hang out on 3rd. You could come still do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I go, but I just don't want to see you sleeping on the floor where rats are going to get you, roaches, people are stealing from you,
Right.
fools, you know, could stab you. I go, that's what I'm worried about. I want to get you off the street. So for this minimal amount, like,
Yeah.
like I what else can I do? You know?
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, I'm
No,
good. You know? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good. So at what point do you like separate that those people that are really down on their luck that really can't do versus the guy like you mentioned, they just don't want it,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm not saying I'm not
They
grouping.
prefer it.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's all of one or all of the other, you know?
Yeah.
But it's extremely frustrating, and that's why you're not going to fix the housing problem. You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing you're going to be able to do is move them out from, again, away from the golf course, away from whatever. But if you build stuff and now, like, so I'm on the Venice Neighborhood Council, right? And dealing with that, like the politics that come into like building stuff, and even like those type of homes, like those type, and like listening to people from both ends. You know, it's crazy. You know, like there's this big project up on Lincoln that's supposed to be like right by the school. It's like it's set to be built, right? So never has there been any one issue that more Venice residents spoke out against. Never been a bigger one that had more signed petitions, more emails, more anything. So the board ultimately, like, we sided with the community that said, like, you can't put this project here with looking down on the school, you know, these kids and all this different stuff, like, so you just can't do it. Yeah. No, it's going to be like this. It's not up yet right now. So they're still going to build it, right?
Yeah, but that's what it was supposed to be, like condos.
Yeah,
or
like
mixed office.
Yeah, like one of those, like
another work live.
Yeah,
type place.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So the city again. So the community completely out against it. The neighborhood council comes up against it, and then like they say, these special interest people come in. They're invested in it, in the property. They come in and they're like, they go right around everybody, and they're like, no, you know, like, this is a good idea. And now all of a sudden we're against homeless people because, you know, we're inhumane, and, you know, like, you go through all this stuff, and it's like, wait a second, like, we're protecting the kids of Venice.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
so you have people like, you know, again, these groups that are outside of Venice, like speaking, writing letters, going to City Hall, saying why this is such a great project. Again, so back to my point, like, but in Venice, like, so your kids are at risk, and they have all these different, like, documented reports, like police reports of people brandishing weapons, people, you know, exposing themselves, like all these different, like, look, on this date, and now you want to build something bigger and bring more in.
Yep.
Like, so
there's a place for projects like that. Yeah. You know, I just don't think in a community like that, it's a place for it.
Yeah. And so that's the biggest challenge, not losing sight of, like, the people that do actually need the help, or the people that have been priced out of their homes, or down on their luck for whatever reason. And even if it's temporary, like, sometimes, like, we go through bad times, you know. I know I've lost everything at some point. I've been down in the dumps, you know, like, so to say, like, you just got to, like, say, oh, group them all in as one, either side, you know. You can't do that, you know.
And you know, it's a tough, you know, more than anybody, man. It's a tough thing to try to figure out and answer to, because on the other side of that too is what's happening right now in Venice. Yeah. And it's you can't turn down damn near any block without there being an encampment right there. I mean, right down Venice Boulevard. Yeah. You know, even up by Centinela in Mar Vista, you know, going back that way, if you're driving down Venice Boulevard in the center divider.
Under the 405 at Venice. And the thing is, too, is, like, they'll clear it up. I've seen them clear it up in the morning, sanitation, PD. They get out there, it's empty, and by noon, it's back up.
Well, the real crazy shit is the south side of Venice down there at the freeway is Culver City. Yeah. And the north side is LA City. Yeah. And you'll drive down there, the Culver City side will be clean as a whistle, dude. Can eat off it. Now, and the right side, the north side, I've seen it the past couple times I've driven through it.
Depends on who hits it when.
But that leads to the whole the protest and coronavirus thing too. It seems like it's compounded the homeless problem in Venice, and they were housing some because they were trying to get them off the streets because of Corona. They didn't want to have an outbreak, so they were housing them in one of the hotels down there on the boardwalk too.
They were doing all right with it too.
So that's like the biggest question, again, back to like officials like Mike Bonin, you know, like, where, again, like, in theory, like, they're compassionate and they care and they're about people that are down on their luck, you know. Yeah. But again, that it affects the quality of life of the hardworking, tax-paying citizens. Like, what do you do?
It's a problem that it's above. It's above me and you in here. It's above the mayor of Los Angeles. It's something that needs to be taken care of on a national level, man. Yeah. And until we get people in our upper echelon of government that can see that, and that's it. You know, the elections and stuff like that. You know, they all have consequences on stuff. It's like that. That's where you get, not to get political or anything, but when you get more people that are, if you talk about it, you know, liberal versus conservative, more on the liberal side of the spectrum. It seems like those people are the ones that take 5 or 6 steps back and try to have a new vision for different things.
That's another thing that's slapping us all in the face right now with the eviction protections, the moratorium, and the deferment for mortgage, is that everybody is at risk of now becoming homeless, like way more, right? Yeah.
So unprecedented the amount of people that are about to get evicted.
And it's having people look at that whole, because it's basically like a cornerstone of the economy is housing. In America, and a way for anyone to really kind of level up or get rich in America is to buy property, sell property, and I mean, like, our grandparents did it. Everybody has like relatives that came, from nothing, flipped the house.
Yeah.
So it's now that's kind of like all getting looked at again as like now there's like a there shouldn't be landlords.
Yeah.
That it's kind of inhumane because it did, it's what sets up the pricing crunch to price people out and put people on the street. You know what I mean? Airbnb had shit to do with it.
Yeah.
Everything kind of came together, and now we're where we are now, and it's all kind of like up in the air and like starting to get looked at differently as to, should we be just like focusing on trying to buy more property, trying to run up?
I think it's just a problem
prices?
that's getting compounded more with everything that's going on, and it's something that needs to, just like I said, it's something that needs to be looked at completely differently.
Yeah.
The way we're doing it right now is not working. Even what people will consider extreme liberal view and let the homeless do whatever they want. That doesn't work either.
Yeah.
You can't even walk down the sidewalk on Venice Boulevard. Yeah. There's no space to walk down the sidewalk. So it's I've always said, man, homeless solution is going to be a national solution where part of our national tax dollars get dished out amongst the 50 states, more money to the states where it's colder. Thank you. Where it's colder and stuff like that. So you can build housing with heat and shit. So you can take care of your own homeless. But you look at other areas, man, or other countries. I saw a special on one of the Norwegian countries up there. They have no homelessness. And basically the second somebody becomes homeless, you contact the government and they first of all get a roof over your head. Yeah. Like the house you said or whatever. Yeah. Boom, you have a roof. You don't have that headache. Then you're part of that program, that homeless program. And what they do basically is look at each individual and figure out what caused you to become homeless. Yeah. Was it a drug problem? Yeah. Cool. We got this drug program. You got housing. We got you in here. And once you're dealing with that, then we'll get you into the job program. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, it's a financial issue. Oh, you lost all your money in the stock market. Okay, well, here's a roof over your head. You know what I mean? But they take you as soon as you get homeless, and they help you with whatever you need. That's the only type of program that I think solves this problem.
And I agree 100%. I think the only variable that sometimes, and again, I don't know how you account for it, is like the mental health issues, that are running rampant, like more than ever, and I don't know if it's like maybe because it's like maybe they're being like overly diagnosed or self-diagnosed, but the reality of like how many of those people do have, like, if it's again depression, if it's anxieties, if it's like PTSD, if it's like, because like now that they've gone through so many different things, it's like how do you account for that, and even like the guy that was successful that I don't know, caught his wife cheating or something, the wife leaves him with the kids, now all of a sudden loses his job, now all of a sudden
wife gets sick with cancer and dies,
exactly,
or dad gets sick and he was the breadwinner, you never know.
So all of a sudden like how that's weighing on him and that he just can't like physically like go to work. I was watching this video about this girl who got into this altercation over road rage, and then like so it escalates like to the highest level, right? So afterwards she's talking about it and she was saying like she like to this day is triggered by that kind of car. To this day she's triggered by that. And like so at first I was thinking like, wow, like I don't know if we really take into account like how situations and maybe you and I could be like, oh, that's nothing, but to the other person, like that cripples them, and now they can't work and everything. So what do you do with that person?
Yeah. Yep.
So to your point, it's way over all of our pay grades,
and all you can do is your part. And I think what you're doing with your organization is amazing, man. I think the whole concept is amazing. I think it's something new and out of the box, and it's those types of things that really take hold and do some good in the world. Yeah. Thank you for coming in, man. Really, that was a great conversation. We didn't even get to you getting jumped.
I know. We didn't, he has had to call 911. It's just we have like 3 minutes left now, and we should just start plugging shit.
Yeah, no. But thank you for coming in, man. That was a great conversation. Yeah. Do you have a website or any place that you want to plug? So people can check you out.
STPLA.org or VeniceArtWalls.com. They're all linked together. Yeah. The Be Creative, it's on there too. It's one of the pages on there, so you get a lot of information. And again, we've always been. That's just for information. If you need our help, we don't solicit funds or donations or anything like that. But again, like we've always believed, like if you do what's right, like right comes your way.
Absolutely, man.
And so we've been blessed. And again, like we're excited about these times. I know it's kind of weird, but
there's a lot
that can be done. A lot of change happening, man. Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you can visit the Venice Art Walls at Venice Beach anytime. They're always there. They're always free. And for people that want to come to LA and check out graffiti in LA, like are there spots that you would recommend? I know Slauson, but like What are the spots to hit if you want to see what?
To see or to paint?
That's not recommend places to paint. Yeah, you don't want to burn those spots, dude. But,
downtown, obviously, but that also has been gentrified a lot. But yeah, Slauson, just anywhere.
It's all over.
That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, graffiti's
Yeah.
exploded again. I haven't seen it like this in a long time.
Yeah, that's cool,
But
man.
yeah, we can go on forever.
There's a lot of places you can see his work. I know you got that big piece by La Cienega in Venice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, big one behind it's like a body shop,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We're working on putting together like a map of our art,
nice.
just to help us, so you can kind of get an idea, So that's in the works. So you check out our site again,
All right, that's what's up.
We'll be
Cool,
updating
man.
soon. Yeah, really appreciate you guys having us out.
Yeah, man.
And you guys are the first to hear about the collaboration with the city attorney's office.
Boom.
Right
You
on.
heard it here first.
Breaking news, all right?
Breaking news.
Change is coming. All right, where can they follow you?
Follow me at Danny Gonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor. You can follow the show at PRC Pod on Instagram, on Twitter. You can like and subscribe us. Find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, blah, blah, blah.
As always, the opinions expressed here are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles Department of Health.
We're supposed to do that disclaimer
Angeles
at the
County
beginning.
Department of Health. Yeah,
and we
we
never
always fucking forget.
remember doing it.
Shout
at
out
the
to my
beginning.
boy
We're gonna
Brent.
get fired.
Shout out to my boy Brent Urban, who does our theme song.
And you can email us at contact prcpod@gmail.com. If you want to buy our merch, you can Venmo us for our shirts. They're $20. L and XL available. Bruno's gonna get one. And yeah, where do they follow Brent? Sorry, I just cut off the.
That's all right.
the
Brent
free promo
Urban.
to Brent.
BRENTURBN on Instagram at Brent Urban. He's just an awesome musician, great kid, lives next door to me.
Hell yeah! Thank you, and thank you to Third Wheel Podcast Studios, and we're out.
Thanks for coming.
Sweet. Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.